Pier, you've been working on this for almost 2 years now. What did you think about the process when you started, and are you happier or unhappier with the actual outcome?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I guess I would say the following. When we first started, there really wasn't a process. We designed it as we went along. The process that Joe had was one of engagement, which was really critical. Engagement is really crucial, but without something that formalizes and provides some structure, you really don't get to enough of an outcome, enough of a tangible. So what we did was we really started to think about how do we enable the energy of all these minds and brains to actually channel to a strong outcome, which is where the idea of the 9 working groups came from. We recognized the 5 verticals, that was the easy part. But I think the real breakthrough actually comes from then putting underneath them the horizontal enablers, which really ensures that you're bringing the strategies together, because it's very easy for the functional areas to just pull their own direction. And when we started touching on bureaucracy, which was a very evident issue, and the issues around taxation and human resources, then it started to bring the strategies all together. And I think that was really, really critical.
However, you've had over 100 people involved giving input, and I imagine everyone comes there with a wish list, which is contradictory sometimes.
Yes.
Because obviously everyone wants to pull towards their own sector and their own initiatives. Gosh, how on earth? It must have been like herding cats.
Well, actually, that's interesting, because one of the things that I'm really happy the strategy did was acknowledge Malta's weaknesses. It's very easy to come in with all these big words and big visions. If you don't deal with the underlying issues, you haven't dealt with anything. And I think when Joe initially started talking to the practitioners, it was very evident that initially people were like, well, yeah, there's this and there's this problem and there's this fundamental issue we have to deal with. How do we get over that? And rather than kind of hiding from them, we embrace these issues as the drivers for strategic change. And by starting to unpick them, to try and understand, okay, what's behind this problem? Why is it taking so long? Why can't people get bank accounts? What's underneath that? Because that's what helps you understand what needs to change. So the strategy is very much anchored in reality and in the experiences that people have in dealing with the financial services sector in Malta. And it's only by doing that we can then start to grow and aspire into what do we have the potential to be. Because it's very easy to just say, oh yeah, we have the best e-government services, we have the best this and the best other, and not face reality. And I think by facing reality, we have a credible strategy. And back to the issue of people pulling in their directions, actually it was less than I anticipated. So I think that was very good. And I think there was a real recognition that ultimately it all needed to come together. And to be honest, when I got the 9 documents, that was the real challenge, was to then weave a whole story out of them. But, you start to see the themes, because, for example, in banking and payments, there's a whole section on HR and education. Technology was a consistent theme across all of the strategies. So it's not like they were all coming from different worlds, but they all had different lenses, and that made the strategy, in my view, better.
Much richer, yes. The strategy was launched at a conference which was organized by Finance Malta, and one of the things which was very clear from the panels, which involved a number of the regulators as well, the enablers of some of the strategy action points, work has actually already started. So if you look at the things being planned by the Commissioner of Inland Revenue and by the MFSA, by the Malta Business Registry and so on, work has already started. They've already taken into account the work done by the MFSAC when drawing up their strategies for the coming years. So we're seeing a lot of alignment already on the way forward. That must be very satisfying.
It is, yes, that you just took the words right out of my mouth. That is extremely satisfying. And that to me is a testament to the degree of alignment and the degree of engagement all of those organizations have had. You know, it's one thing to come up with a strategy and then dump it on people. It's another thing to make sure that everybody comes along on the journey, which is what has happened in this case. Not only have they come along on the journey, they authored the strategy. You know, what I did was bring everybody's pieces together and write it. But the underlying requirements, the needs for the strategy, came from all these groups, which came from all these entities, organizations, people and individuals. So it really is a strategy that is wholly representative of the industry. So that to me makes it very exciting. And the one question that I always get asked is around implementation, and people can be rightly skeptical about it. But the fact is, we've already started implementation even when we were writing the strategy. So that to me is really exciting.
Pier, I look forward to catching up in 18 months when we should start seeing some real, you know, physical changes into taxation and harmonization and legislation and streamlining of regulation, and perhaps even some of the harder nuts to crack like HR. Thank you very much for all your involvement.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vanessa.